pushes me down, presses me down. Am I less of a man now that somebody took advantage of me? Fine, know my sexuality and all that. That's something different. But now, my masculinity felt weak, but still, I would not speak or say anything about it. I would not say anything. I decided to stop being intimate with them. I'd make excuses of why I wouldn't want to be intimate with them. And he'd forever complain, but I would still not tell him as to, okay, this happened.
It's truly a privilege and really an honor to be able to communicate stories that are impactful, stories that challenge how we think, stories that involve how our communities are transformed and how we are able to grow and just cause impact that is meaningful. The show is Engineer Your Life, and I'm Lungelo KM. Please subscribe, please like, so that we can continue growing this platform, this podcast, to be the beast that it's meant to be. And who doesn't want a beast that is there to transform lives? Without wasting your time, another impactful conversation that we're about to have. Be fine. You'll be fine. You'll be fine.
Good. I'm good.
You're good.
I'm good.
How's your heart, actually? How's your heart? It's been a long day, but we're here, and we're going to be vessels that communicate this message.
Exactly.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, that's the toughest question ever, especially currently right now in my life, But by virtue of maybe being blessed, highly favored, and, having acquired that blessing of being alive and being here, I'm good. My heart is okay.
Yes. Yeah.
Otherwise, I guess you'll get to understand as we go by.
As we go along.
Yeah.
There. Would you say you're coexisting in a pace of trying to find peace, but there's heaviness?
Exactly.
Ne?
Couldn't have described it perfectly.
Yeah.
And it's quite difficult, because it's as if it's two worlds against each other. It's a clash, and as peaceful as you want to be, there's still that just clog of darkness and sadness, man. And it's very heavy, especially right now with we'll dive into it as we talk through it, with the case, with the that pastor case, and the outcomes thereof.
Sure.
You can't help but to have the heart that I have at the current moment.
The lack of justice.
Exactly.
As a country that we're seeing, the undermining of people who've been violated.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
yeah.
that's exactly it. Where do people find sievage when such is happening? When such results are being put out there, when justice is plummeting at its lowest, because that's what I believe it's doing. Victims aren't really going to speak at the current moment. Violated individuals aren't going to speak, and that's what we want. That's what is needed out there, for people to speak. And if people speak and the process ends like this,
then what's the point of speaking?
What's the point of speaking?
Yeah.
Why not resort to the nearest and easiest of tasks, which is suicide? Why not become a very vile individual? Why not live in negativity, in a dark space? Because you can't find refugee anywhere else in South Africa, especially in the justice system right now at the current moment.
Is Teboho living in his purpose right now?
I got to you are throwing me with big questions already. Am I living in my purpose? I'd like to believe that purpose involves journey. right? I'd like to believe that purpose for me, for an example, once you've fulfilled your purpose, that's what I believe in life. You leave this world, you know. But at the current moment, again, I'd like to believe I am. I'd like to believe I'm not, you know. Based on the fact that Teboho currently is an educator. Teboho is a vocalist. I'm Christ-driven. But work-wise and profession-wise, I'm an educator.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, is being an educator my purpose? I'd like to believe so, because that's my safe space. I wouldn't have studied education if I felt otherwise. I wasn't pressured to do it. It's something that came directly from my heart.
Sure.
And at a very young age.
Yeah.
You know. And for me, that part is living in that purpose, because as early as 7, I remember my late mother asked me, "What do you want to be?" And a lot of youngsters would resort to, "I'd like to be an engineer. I'd like to be a doctor. I'd like to be this and this and that." I resorted to, "I'd like to be a teacher."
Yeah.
And she asked me as to why.
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Well, Mama's pumisontweni, right?" And she was like, "Yeah." And I remember it was a Sunday. And she was like, "Yeah." And I was like, "Well, I view Christ as being a teacher, you know." And for reference sake, people could dive into the Bible, you know, go back to his disciples, you know, that would show you the trend that he is a teacher, you know, amongst everything else. So whenever I describe Christ a lot before anything else, well, right after Father, I describe him as a teacher. And I wanted to do that. And since then, that's what I've always wanted to do. And whenever I'm in a classroom, I feel that purpose. I feel like I'm doing something that is worthwhile. I feel I'm molding someone. I feel what I'm doing right now is exactly what I'm meant to do.
We grow up and we have relationships. Some of us are blessed to have mom and dad who are present, loving us. Some of us, it could just be mom, and that makes us have a close relationship with our mothers. And in those formative years, a lot of our identity is driven by what our parents teach us, and we emulate what they teach us. What did your mom mean to you?
Whoa.
Hey, family, quick one. As you know, our podcast is all about growth conversations. It's all about igniting your power. It's all about healing the inner parts of who we are that are difficult to deal with and difficult to manage. As we do that, we'd like your assistance in growing the platform by you subscribing, by you liking all our videos. It helps us to reach greater audiences and change more lives. Do continue enjoying the episode.
Everything. The world. I've never had what I would call a father figure in my life, or I've never had anyone whom I would look at and be like, okay, that's a father figure for me. So my mom would do everything. She'd have to be, she was a father figure to me. She was a mother figure to me. That's how I would view her when growing up, you know. She was everything, man. Everything from the teachings that I've been taught, you know, majority of those come from her. She was quite strong-willed. She was Christ-driven, quite a lot.
Yeah.
You know, hence ngakhuliswa mina, you know, and she had a huge impact. She was an educator. You know, so I emulated what I saw.
Sure.
I depicted what I saw.
Yeah.
You know, and yeah, she held our entire family, you know, on
Matriarch?
her matriarch. Well, second matriarch. My grandmother's still there. You know, quite amazing as well.
Sure.
But strong-willed, very strong. You know, she was married. I have a brother and 2 sisters, you know, scattered around South Africa. Based due to work, you know. But for the mere fact that as a woman, she could actually be able to steer a family, not only her direct family, but majority of the family, is amazing. Hence, I describe her as everything.
How did you lose your mom in 2017?
16.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, okay. 2016, I was doing my final year at the University of the Free State
Okay. In education?
in education.
Yeah.
Um, on the 20th of July, I remember precisely, I was doing my final year practicals. And I spoke to my mom over the phone during the day, as per usual, which speak quite a lot. And she was traveling to some workshop and whatnot, and it was somewhere around Mobubani. And upon their return, they got involved in a massive accident, and she lost her life there. So for me, at that time, it was a change of everything. The world flipped, you know. It felt as if it went on a standstill, you know, and the way I found out as well would be an issue because it went on social media before I could have known. It went on social media before my sister, who's currently in Durban now, could know, you know. So yeah, it wasn't really great, you know. So yeah.
Did you feel betrayed by her for leaving you so soon?
There were times when I was angry at her,
Mm-hmm.
you know, because I would not understand as to why would you, okay, why is it that you know very well that you've got Teboho and Tabiseng, Rebecca and Junior, and you decide to take that last breath. Why can't you give it a shot? Why can't you fight? You know, and it's all those things because I was doing my final year. I had to keep it in me. I can't afford to fail. The person who pays for everything is gone.
Yeah.
Can't afford to fail. You know, the person who finances everything is gone. So I have to work harder, you know, and so that's when it started with me taking that situation and just throwing it at the back of my head and just focusing on graduating.
Is it still at the back of your head?
No, it came back. It came back guns blazing in 2018. You know, I was working already in Kwakwa, you know, still thinking I'm okay, still thinking I'm good, you know, and one evening, something triggered me. A simple accident on the news unraveled everything, and I lost it. I lost it.
What does losing it look like?
Losing it doesn't look good, especially if you've kept quite a lot. Thanks, man. If you've kept quite a lot, not only in your heart but at the back of your mind, you know, losing it makes you lose character. It makes you lose self. It makes you move into a dark cloud. It makes you angry. Any movement, anything, any force just annoys you. I remember my principal back then, Malituka, was like, "You were okay on Friday. It's Monday today. What's happening?"
Yeah.
You know, because I remember we had a meeting and I just couldn't just handle it, you know, instead of acting in a very cordial yet professional way, I was frustrated. The response was of frustration. Correct, what I was saying made sense, but of frustration, you know, and that it's just started questioning it. You know, I started locking myself up quite a lot. It was a matter of going to work and back, to work and back, to work and back. So more or less of a zombie, more or less of not being here, but being in your own dimension or your own space or your own thoughts, you know, and dude, it was crazy. It was crazy. It was crazy.
Would you say grief for you could be described as an ultimate low in life?
Yeah, definitely. And I've heard people describing grief in their own way, in their own
Big English
terms and all that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? For me, when Lungelo, as I'm telling you, Guti, you change, right? For me, in order for me to deal with it, because therapy was the last thing on my head. It was the easiest, Going back home, I would pass your local liquor store, get in there, buy a beverage. And I'm taking a beverage, lalela. Buy beverage and go home.
Yeah.
Drink. It's a Tuesday. It's a Wednesday. I'm waking up the following morning, going to work. And I get to work. Back, same thing.
Cycle continues.
Yeah. Cycle continues. So all those changes were changes that people started realizing, and internally yourself, you don't get it. You still like, and you snap more, you get angry more, And I do agree to the fact that grief is non-linear. I do agree with the fact that it's how you do it. At that time, that's how I did it.
In the midst of that, life is going on. You find love, as we all do.
Yeah.
Well, I guess we all do. You find love, and I'm sure being in love, having commitment to somebody outside of your work brings a sort of source of relief in what you are going through. Of course, romantic love can never replace your mom, but it does bring a refuge. It does bring a place of safety and peace. But by then you're still living in Sasolburg.
No. Kwakwa.
Kwakwa, yes. And you're working there.
And I'm working there.
Okay. And you're working there, and then something happens.
Yeah.
Tragic, painful, disgusting, humiliating, everything wrong with what society is today.
Yeah.
Take me in from the moment the individual walked into your house.
Oh, okay. I met, let's call my partner then S. It's the first letter of the person's name. In 2017, the end of August. I still remember precisely as to where and all of that. Brilliant individual, great relationship all the way, everything is going good. So I have to travel back and forth, from Kwakwa to Johannesburg almost every weekend, or my partner would, do the same thing. No problem. In April of 2018, I'm still in Kwakwa, and already he has noticed a few changes because of the grief that we spoke about, because that happened quite earlier. I lived in a suburb, or township sort of suburb in Kwakwa, Beirut. And then came back from work, typical normal afternoon. In fact, it was towards an evening. Took out my kids' books out of the car, because I'm Zomaga and what, assist. She put it vugili, I'm walking into the house and back, And then after that, I closed the car, went into the house. Couldn't even prepare a meal because I was tired. I think I marked only one and went to bed, later on around 10ish. So what I would do, I would leave the kitchen light on, my bedroom light off, and then but tilt the door open so that a bit of light could shine through. Sleeping in the middle of the night, because I could not recall as to what time exactly. The middle of the night, I wake up to because I had wooden floors. I wake up to a bit of, screeching of the wood, and I wake up and I was facing the other way, and I turned, looked at the door, and a figure was standing there of a person. Okay.
Male.
Yeah. You could tell it's male. I looked at the person and I recall saying, Obatai, that's like, what do you want in Sesotho? The individual never said anything but walked directly to me, and yeah, forced himself on me.
Are you seeing their face at this point?
Not really, because this side of my bed, it's a bit darker. The lighting only shines throughout, So this person has grabbed me. This is the bed towards the side, And yeah.
Walks in.
Then directly straight to me. He never said any word at all.
Pushes you down?
Pushes me down. Presses me down.
Are you screaming? What's so just allow me. Are we, because there's somebody out there who doesn't understand the extent and damage this does. And we will do this for that educational purpose and to free somebody else who's gone through this. When somebody comes to you and they push you down, how do you immediately react? And how long does it take your brain to realize what's happening?
I don't know what happened to me, but I don't recall screaming. For the life of me, I don't recall screaming, but I do recall trying to push the individual off me because the person had pinned me down, literally trying to remove the individual off me, and I just couldn't. And immediately then I went quiet. I went in silent mode. I went quiet. My brain was registering the fact that this person is forcing themselves on me, but I couldn't react. I couldn't push them off me anymore. I couldn't fight anymore.
Are they still not saying anything?
Nothing.
Not a single word was uttered.
The only thing I could hear is that heavy breathing. The only thing I could hear is that heavy breathing. Because when he pinned me down, his face also went this side. Because I'm trying to on my ear. I could hear that heavy breathing.
How many minutes after he pinned you down did he then pull his pants down?
Oh, I wouldn't tell you. I don't think I would tell you, but I remember because there's a moment I stopped trying to kick and push. And I think maybe during that time, and it wasn't your type of pants, so I would not know whether it was a track pant or what was it. Yeah.
I'm guessing in a state of vulnerability, the body surrenders.
Yeah.
And that's what was happening. The body had surrendered and you stopped fighting back.
And I stopped fighting back.
Perhaps it could be due to shock or...
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so.
Do you remember after you'd surrendered, do you still have the brain capacity to realize that this person is actually inserting his manhood now?
Yeah.
And do you feel every moment?
Yeah. I'm not sure how to put this. Oh. As I told you, I could hear his breathing. And obviously when he did the deed, I felt the most excruciating pain ever. And even then, I did not scream. And I remember I looked away. My window was on this side. I looked away and I looked at my window until he was done. And when he was done, he walked out.
What is done?
what he was doing. Because, yeah, yeah. When he was done,
Ejaculation?
yeah. I can't even say it because I swear I could vomit right now. It's disgusting.
I know. I'm so sorry, man. I'm really, really sorry.
Yeah.
You said he walked out.
Simply.
You still don't recognize his face at that time. You still can't see who he is
I can't see
because it's dark. You
the
said
body. He was going to walk through the door where there's a bit of light, walking out of my bedroom towards the kitchen because the kitchen is lit. I had a lot of questions going on in my mind at that moment. A lot of questions going on in my mind. And he walked out and he left my door opened.
your main house door.
Yeah, the kitchen door opened. And walked out and I didn't sleep the whole morning.
Did the tears come now after he had left?
Yeah. I sat there and I cried. It's not literally sitting. I was leaning, but still facing the window, like this, still facing the window. I stayed up. I heard each and everything in the morning. It's a normal school day, like normal work day. Didn't go to work. Didn't say anything to my principal. Didn't call anybody. Just sat there. I sat there for a good, if not 10, 11 hours to the morning and towards towards midday. So yeah. And I remember my partner called me quite a lot. It's a person who would call me each and every, like literally almost every 3 hours. Called me quite a lot and he was quite worried as to what was going on. My principal called me quite a lot to no avail. Did I think of going to my doctor? Yeah. No, I didn't do it. I just wanted to sit there.
How many hours did you sit there before you got out of bed?
More than 10. More than 10. I sat there. And right in the afternoon, I was in so much pain. I was in excruciating pain. Right in the afternoon, when I got up from where I was sitting, there was like blood around
on your bed.
Yeah, the space. And then I tried walking to the bathroom. I walked to the bathroom. Couldn't do anything. I wanted to call someone. I knew a friend, Katla, who lived down the road. But I couldn't bring myself together. What am I going to say? Hey, got raped. Hey, I can't describe who it is. Am I not waiting for judgment? Am I not waiting? I couldn't do anything, Lungelo.
In hindsight, do you recall how long it lasted? Minutes? Hours?
I don't think it could have been hours. I think minutes. Maybe 15, 20, because your mind my mind was not there. I can't say your mind is not there because I can't
there,
think.
but it's not there. Yeah.
Yeah, and also I can't think for the next person.
Sure.
Mine felt like it wasn't there. Felt like yeah, there was nothing there, you know. And immediately when I came to Joburg, well, did I go to my doctor? I didn't go to my doctor. Immediately when I came to Joburg that weekend, haven't gone to work, by the way. I remember it was midweek when it happened, Wednesday, if I'm not mistaken. Didn't go to work on Thursday, didn't go to work on Friday. On Friday, still in a bit of pain. Finally got the courage to call my partner, who had a lot of questions to ask. Couldn't answer, you know, got into my car and drove to Joburg. When I got here, we lived in Centurion with him at the time when I was here. Yeah, I just didn't know what to do, you know. But one thing I remember after a while that he said is that, you know.
So you still haven't told him?
Nope.
At the time, while you were at this side in Joburg?
Even after, I think now he's going to know. Yeah.
He's never known?
Never known. I think when I really told somebody, I told my aunt, Auntie Lee. Auntie Lerato lives there in Joburg. And it was just recently when we went to my uncle's wedding in Kwakwa. And I just felt like I needed to...
Especially because you're going to Kwakwa again.
Again. Yeah. You know, I just needed to say something to her. And I had told her over the phone, Auntie, I need to tell you something. She was like, okay, I'll give you a chance. I think you'll tell me when we get there. Couldn't tell her when we got there, but I told her when we were coming back. You know, so yeah.
You said no doctor. Does that mean no police as well?
No police as well.
No reporting?
No reporting.
No seeking who it was?
No seeking who it was. No seeking who it was. Lungelo, at that time, I didn't know whether I was coming or going. I didn't know whether my mind even functioned well. I could come to Joburg, see my partner, and leave. From there on, I decided to stop being intimate with him. I'd make excuses of why I wouldn't want to be intimate with him. And he'd forever complain, but I would still not tell him as to, okay, this happened. But now I'm a very difficult person to deal with. I'm very, very aggro. I snap right now, you know. And the person I dated, like, if I could describe the person I dated, it could be with the personality, as calm as you, you know. And he would not understand. And that went on for a good year. Even when I decided to move from Kwakwa, I just up and left. My principal called me, what's going on? Where are you? Still didn't tell her. Just left. And then immediately when I got to Centurion, he asked me as well, Teboho, why did you just move? Just sent in a resignation. And by the grace of God, I managed to obtain a job again, this side, well, in Benoni, as a teacher again, you know, but still, I would not speak or say anything about it. I would not say anything.
The brain obviously races to try and get answers. Even when situations that we didn't invite in our lives, we have this tendency of wanting answers. Where did your brain take you in suspecting who it could have been? A learner from school?
No.
A neighbor?
No, definitely not a learner from school. Because of the, number one, the demeanor of the person, because of how their structure. From where I lived, my school was quite slight of a distance. You know, let's say 2.5 kilometers from where I lived. But I did suspect because next door, the house I lived in, so, you know, and sometimes and most probably somebody who studied me, somebody who knew my ins and out. I've sat and I thought about it, and when I started trying to do that whole investigation thing, I was already the side in Sasolburg after my relationship. My relationship had to end in 2019, and again, by the grace of God, I got movement, and placement in Sasolburg. That's how I got to Sasolburg, because living here, my partner and I are not living here together. What am I doing here?
Yeah.
I started applying elsewhere, and luckily I moved. Yeah, I moved just to seek that fresh start. And then that's when my mind slightly started to go, Teboho, do you think talking to your grandmother would help? Do you think talking to your cousin would help? Because I'm thinking about people that are close to me. Do you think maybe going to therapy would help? And my brain was like, okay, let's try therapy. So my therapist is based in Vanderbijl. It's about 15 minutes drive or 20 minutes drive from Sasolburg to there. I went, and I remember when I made an appointment, the first day I went, when I sat in the waiting area, immediately after I'd sat, let's say for about 10 minutes, I remember the receptionist, I think went to the toilet or something, and my therapist was still busy. I stood up and left. Stood up and left. They called me, and I was just scared. What's wrong with me? But got the courage again and returned, and went and started. And that's when really the investigating of who is it? Why me?
And did you reach an answer? The who is it part?
The who is it now? No.
Did you give up, or did you surrender to saying it's fine even though I don't know?
I surrendered to even though I don't know. But for the life of me, even at the current stage right now, I would want to know. Maybe I'll stop having endless nightmares. Maybe I'll stop. I don't know. Maybe I'll stop really being in a state of menace, of overly thinking. I live alone. I took the courage of getting a house in Sasolburg and the new developments and everything. But I'm literally scared. I've got a pit bull. My dog is Macy. And my gates are always locked. Immediately when I park, I close my gate. And prior to now, because my car I recently got a car now again, I would literally walk in and just close the gate and lock. And even when I'm inside my house, I lock. My burglar bars are locked. I would have endless sleepless nights. When you sleep in your bedroom is your sanctuary. That's where you are able to pray. That's where you are able to think. That's where you are able to analyze. I would wake up in the middle of the night, consecutive nights, around the hours of 2 a.m. I would not know what to do with myself, and that type of behavior of menace and whatnot started building, the overthinking. And then my therapist prescribed medication for me. And I was on the meds. Not nice, but I was on them. Became a bit better. Stopped. Started again. But now currently I'm not on them.
What does it do to your idea of your masculinity and your ego as a man?
Yeah.
To know that somebody forced themselves on you?
Mm. I'd say maybe it tarnishes it. And the other reason I couldn't even go and report it to emaphoyiseni ngizoqala kuphi ngizothini indoda enjani idlwengulayo.
Why didn't you fight back? Some would ask, the police would ask that.
Yeah, wayengalwanga.
And as a man, why did you fight back?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wayengalwanga, wayengayimelanga. Aw, ngadliwe enye indoda. That's what they will ask, Or that's what I thought they would ask. Because I've heard so many stories, That's why in the beginning of this conversation I said to you, nothing is as annoying to me right now as those 2 cases that I mentioned earlier on. So I couldn't bring myself to it. Am I less of a man now that somebody took advantage of me? Fine, know my sexuality, I know that. That's something different. But now, my masculinity, I felt weak. Yeah. Felt weak.
How has it affected recently? 2019, of course, your relationship ended for obvious reasons. You were unable to talk, you were unable to be intimate. But recently, with therapy, or at least in the past 5 years, how has it affected being in romantic relationships? Are you struggling to be in romantic relationships again?
Yeah, I am. I am. There's always that thought, man. There's always that what if. There's always that, I have to speak about it now, or because it's pointless getting into a relationship and you haven't worked on self, And at that time, when you go to Psalms 27:13, it says something to do with seeing the wonders of the Lord in the world that we live in. I was angry at God, if you get me.
Still are?
Maybe. Kinda. What wonders am I seeing if all of these things are happening? I'm analyzing now as to, but do you have my interests? Do you care for me? You are defined as a loving father, but do you care for me? So it placed me. I'm still there. So yeah.
Why is talking important for somebody who's gone through what you have gone through? Because you are recognizing that you spent years not talking, and you now finally have the courage to talk, thankfully, and thank God for that. But it's 7 years in.
Yeah.
That's a long time to harbor pain and carry a burden such as this, a very tragic, despicable burden. Why must one talk sooner?
It's to find freedom. As much as the word love is 4-lettered, also the word free is 4-lettered. It's to find freedom of self because you've changed self. It's to see if you could honestly find answers. It's to remove any negative or any negativity, in your life. But it's very important to speak, Lungelo, because what help has it, or what good has it done for me? I've harbored pain for 7 years. I hate more than I love. When I weigh things in my life, it's negative. Hate. Don't like. Young Todd. And it's exhausting. It's tiring. Having suicidal thoughts because you can't freely speak.
Hmm.
And as much as I said earlier on, somebody might say, "What good is it going to do for me because of how things are happening?" The only thing I'd say is to just find freedom. Find freedom, find understanding. For your purpose to be fulfilled, certain things have to be broken. The journey has to continue. Yeah.
Teboho, what you've done without you realizing it, this community we have here of like-minded people in this growth podcast is of people who, we are a community that wants good, that wants the world to be a better place. We are a community of broken people. We are all broken in some way or another. I won't compare our brokenness. Someone out there is broken financially. Someone out there has been abused by a partner. Somebody out there is going through a divorce. Someone out there has lost a mom and a dad, or a mom and a brother. Someone out there has been a victim of sexual violation like you are. They're a man and they've never spoken to anyone about it.
Yeah.
I just want you to be assured that in you speaking, there's somebody who's being freed, who hasn't found their own voice. In you speaking also, you are freeing yourself. And I want to plead with our community, even if you don't identify as part of our community here at Engineer Your Life, that Teboho is a beacon of hope by doing this. You are a beacon of freedom. You're a beacon of reminding people about the state of our justice system and the failures of what pain can do to a person, how much hatred it can make you harbor and carry. And my prayer now is that this is your opportunity to take a decision that I'm free.
Yeah.
I'm free from this. This does no longer have to affect my romantic relationships. Because I could speak about it on a national platform, so what that I have to explain it to the next partner?
Yeah.
I've spoken, everybody knows now. It's okay. Like, let's move on. Life goes on. I've sought the medical help that I need. I've just let go. So in your prayers, could you focus on that element of letting go?
Yeah.
And understanding that you are worthy, that God is for the brokenhearted. We are all brokenhearted. There's no longer a need to be angry at God because, as you know, you are shielded by God. You are protected. You're loved. You operate in His grace, and you need to consistently be in touch with that part of who you are, so that you can be freed from this. With that said, this particular episode, before we close, is dedicated to a Cheryl Zondi.
Yes.
Is dedicated to a Kwekwe. Is dedicated to a young man, even older man, who's never said a word about what they've gone through. Those 3 kids we just heard about in the Eastern Cape, who had to move schools to KZN from Matadiele because they've also been violated. We're really sorry as the Engineer Your Life community. And Teboho, last but not least, what's that one thing in life you know for sure? And before you answer me, I know for sure that you'll be well.
Thank you. I hope so.
I know so.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
One thing in life you know for sure that you're absolutely certain of. What's that one thing in life?
That one thing in life that I'm certain about. Whoa. Is that one way or the other? I'm here to make a mark, I guess. Just for the next person, for the next child, for the next uputi lapho ngaphandle, for the next usisi lapho ngaphandle. And to be that beacon of hope, ukuthi, it'll be okay. As tough as it is, it'll be okay. You know? And having moved on to starting an NPO that rotates around mental health, That's just me also saying it'll be okay.
Yeah, yeah.
That's just my way of saying this is what I would leave.
My pain turned into purpose.
Into purpose.
Yeah. What's the name of the NPO?
I'll share that soon with you.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing your story. It's, don't use the word privilege, but maybe it is a privilege that you took us into your vulnerability and something that perhaps some people die with and never ever share, but you were courageous enough to share with us. So thank you.
No, thank you so much.
The show is Engineer Your Life, and I'm Lungelo. KM. Be kind, man. Love people. Forgive yourself if you're a victim of such a heinous crime, because it's not your fault. There's no short skirt that you wore that made it happen to you. There's no door that you forgot to lock. You are just a victim of a horrible person who made a horrible decision. And I hope you get the justice you deserve. I'll see you guys on the next episode.
Kholwa emandleni onawo.
Oh my, we're finally doing this. What does EYL Africa represent? It's about standing in your power. It's about, in isiZulu, it's Kholwa emandleni onawo, which is our tagline. You will see it on the back of my t-shirts. It's about believing in the power that you have, believing in the power that your God, your guides have invested in you. Shop our socks, shop our t-shirt, and yeah, just keep believing in yourself. EYL Africa.
Now available on EYLshop.Africa.